Good morning. How are you doing today, Edward?
I'm doing great. How are you doing?
Absolutely fantastic, man. Here we are, 4th of July weekend. You know that the rest of the world is going to be sitting here waiting for someone to scarf down some food.
Every year, it's the nature of the beast, right? You got to be in it to win it.
It has become such a competition that is a conversation starter. I mean, from man cave to city parks, we all talk about the munching down of these dogs.
Yes. The funny part is, like, when I was in the competition, it was different than not being in the competition. So for me, it's a little easier not being in the competition because I can watch from the outside. But it's always like my competitive nature is, even this year I'm going, and I'm always like, oh, God, I love when I was in it.
Well, in martial arts, they always taught us, Edward, that the best place to be is on the sidelines because that's where you learn from other people. Their mistakes could be your mistakes, and that's how you become greater as a student.
Yeah, I spent enough time teaching other people how to eat over the past 10 years or 15 years that I've been out that people call me for coaching.
Is this really a teachable thing, and how is that possible?
Everybody has techniques. Now, not everybody uses them, because they don't know they have them. If you don't have techniques, you can't eat. You're not going to eat more if you don't have techniques.
Yeah. I'm in radio, so I learned how to scarf down food, but there's only so much I can put in me.
But you know what? There's ways to practice. There's ways to go about them that they're safe, that you don't get hurt, but like everything else, it's all technique.
So now with all of the food competitions that you've been through, part of that preparation has got to be to take antacids and things like that, because I can't imagine what you're doing to the inside.
The funny part is, like, very few times I had problems. Only time that I could say that it really bothered me was when I had 5 pounds of mayonnaise.
Oh, God.
Yeah. I came off stage when I did 2 pounds with Jay Leno, and Snoop Dogg's like, what are you going to do now? And I'm like, I was thinking eating a couple of cans of tuna and a couple of slices of rye and jumping around.
Do you actually have to be hungry in order to do this? Because like I said, I'm a food lover, and so when I'm hungry, I feed the beast, or if I don't, it's going to drive me insane.
Yeah, I don't have to be hungry, but I'm always hungry. So at the end of the day, the beast was always hungry.
The documentary we're talking about is Scarface. You have some pretty incredible interviews on here, and I really do think that this is going to be conversation starting in the way that people are going to say, oh, my God, I remember these people.
Listen, I was one of the first guys to get into it with, traveling around the globe. And there was a lot of people that were in before me, but they just really didn't make any impact. And, at the end of the day, I always tell people, who makes the biggest impact, who makes the biggest splash in the pool when they're doing a cannonball. Yeah, Jarvis is a splasher.
Now, one of the things, in the early days, you didn't have the sponsors and stuff like that. These days, this is a true honest-to-God competition or a sport.
Listen, when I got in, there was no prize for Nathan's. So imagine you eat, 30 and a half hot dogs and you get a box of hot dogs as a gift that I donated usually to charity. So, and now you get $10,000 for first place.
Yeah. Now, what I love about this is that fans talk about it like they do professional wrestling. They know your story. They know what happened and everything like that, and people will sit around talking about it.
Oh, yeah. No, I was at an event the other night, and, I was telling them that 2,500 people, and I walk in a suit jacket, and people know you, but then a half an hour later, I go out and I get in my eating jacket for my competitions, and then people are, like, losing their mind. They're like, oh, my God, I need a picture, I need a whatever, I need a, they all want to get something.
Yeah. Now I've been a part of many radio station promotions where there's a lot of eating and drinking water and stuff like that. So when I found out about the water contest, that's a dangerous game, is it not?
To drink?
Yeah.
No, it's practice like everything else. It takes time to, you got to get used to it. It's not, you can just jump into it and drink, 3 gallons of water. Nobody's going to do that.
Right. Oh, but we try to during these hot days of summer, though. We try to get as much Gatorade or whatever in us, and then we end up paying for it.
Oh, listen, at the end of the day, everything is related to tolerance level. And at the end of the day, you got to be able to tolerate, practicing. Practicing is like everything else. It's part of life.
So
especially as a competitive eater.
How do you practice as a competitive eater? You just go to the grocery store and just fill up the basket?
Sometimes I was having 12 pounds of cabbage. Sometimes I'd be eating a 20-pound watermelon. Sometimes I'd be having, 2.5 gallons of water.
Obviously, no food allergies.
No.
You're such a lucky man. When you go to the doctor for your annual physical and things like that, how do you explain this to your doctor? Because they're going to look at you going, "You do what, Edward? You do what?"
The funny part is my doctor had a picture of me in the lobby of showing me eating, and he used to tell him, he goes, "Listen, this guy, as big as he is, no cholesterol, no diabetes, no whatever." He goes, "But so it's really a matter of taking care of yourself at the end of the day."
Yeah, well, like a sports figure, you've got to keep that mind, body, and soul moving.
Yeah, no, you can't just stop doing what you're doing. I mean, life goes.
Now, in this documentary, are we going to see that there's some controversies always taking place inside these dog eating contests? Because there's no way everybody plays it straight.
Like I said, there's always things that go on, whether you like them or not. They go on. So, unfortunately, like one time I remember, I go, it seemed like my plates were bigger than somebody else's. Now, if you're not in the back, it's not like you can ask, "Hey, by the way, I want this weighed." One time I had a plate get removed from my area and it went in somebody else's plate, and that cost me the contest. For Sonia, I was actually eating tacos.
Wow, that's true. I never even thought about that. The amazing amount of speed that goes on around you in order to make sure that those plates are right there in front of you. I mean, it's like a NASCAR race.
Oh yeah, it's like and when you're eating, you're not thinking about it. You're focused on eating.
When the directors of of Scarface and all the financial people came and said we're going to do this documentary, what went through your head? Was it one of those, hey, it's about time?
I mean, there's always, every day should be told the real story of what goes on.
Right.
I mean, at the end of the day, everybody needs to know.
Yeah. So when you're invited to a rib eating contest, do they at least let you sample the stuff that goes on to those ribs, the sauce?
Oh yeah, I mean, listen, I eat 9 pounds of ribs in 10 minutes.
God. Do you get to enjoy the flavor?
Oh, you taste it, but I mean, like I said, you taste it initially, briefly, and then at the end.
Yeah. Because
that's when you taste it. You're not really paying attention in the middle.
So, do you get it like a runner's high or something like that, in the way that you just kind of disconnect from the real world and you just know that you're on a mission?
Pretty much. You remember the movie where Sylvester Stallone was in, where he was an arm wrestler?
Yes.
Basically, once I turn that hat, it's over.
Yeah. Gee. I can't imagine what can you even see what's going on around you? Do you know that the person next to you could be one dog behind?
I know throughout the whole contest where I'm located, where I'm at, where I'm positioned, everything. Because you remember sometimes they were yelling out your numbers, so you typically knew where you were. But there were times where they weren't up to date on people, like me even, in fact. One year they didn't even mention my name, didn't realize how many I ate, and then all of a sudden they were mentioned my name, and guess what? Whoever was coasting was no longer coasting because I was already ahead of them.
Oh my God. So
imagine hearing you think you're ahead, and then all of a sudden it's like, oh wait, Cookie Jarvis had 27, and you're at 23, and you're like, oh, what the hell?
Is there something you won't eat, Cookie Jarvis?
No, there's nothing I won't eat.
Have you ever done a pizza contest?
Yeah, I did a 6-pound chicken franchise pizza in 2 minutes and 45 seconds.
God dang. I mean, you're definitely not eating it like New Yorkers do where you fold it over. I mean, you're just stuffing it in, right?
No, one slice at a time, believe it or not. Crazy as that is.
So now what happens when you're sitting around the dinner table? Are you like, okay, I'm done, and say, we haven't even had the first bite yet? I mean, do you get to enjoy dinner?
Oh, with dinner now I do. Not in the past, unfortunately.
Right.
Now I get to enjoy every meal, but in those days I didn't get to enjoy anything because I was too busy worrying about eating than winning.
Is there going to be a committee or anything like that will turn this into an Olympic sport?
Honestly, I thought it would have been there already.
Really?
I always said, I'm like, they got crepe paper waving at the Olympics. Why not eating?
Right. Wow. Chinese food. I have to savor the flavor. I have to take my time and really bring it in. I mean, how do you get involved with that?
I was, I used to practice at the buffet all the time. They hated me there because I'd go for a $7 lunch and I'd eat 16 to 17 pounds of lunch.
Oh my God, that reminds me of there was a comedian that had this joke: "No more buffet for you. Go now, go now." And it's like
actually, it's funny because one time I went into a buffet and I set up 16 one-pound plates of food because I was trying for the world buffet title, and I didn't know what the foods were going to be. So I said, let me get a variety. So I go in and I set up all the plates and I set up all the water, and the guy's like, "Are you eating with somebody?" I said, "No, just me." He says, "All this food, 16 pounds?" I go, "Yeah, 16 pounds, and I'm going to eat it myself. And 20 minutes, I'll be done." So the guy looks at me. I eat the food. I eat it in 20 minutes, and I drink all my drinks, and I'm getting ready to go up for dessert. And he goes, "No more dessert for you.
Yep.
We pay you leave."
So do you eat healthy in the way of having breakfast, or is it just one meal a day for you?
No, now I eat, totally different than when I was competing. I mean, when I was competing, I barely chewed.
Oh, Jesus. I don't know how many times.
So that couldn't have been good.
Man, my father would knock me upside the head so many times as a kid. "I told you to chew that food. Do not swallow that food. Chew it."
Remember, as a professional eater, chewing took time.
Yes, it
does. And guess what? The more you chewed, the more you realized you were full.
Oh.
So the less you chewed, the more likely you were to eat more.
Wow. So
the brain senses the amount of times you chew is the reason why you eat less.
I had a doctor tell me one time to eat ice cream with a fork because your mind is convinced that it's food and not a dessert. So if you eat it with a spoon, you're going to eat more. But eat with a fork and you're not going to eat that much ice cream.
As the ice cream holder eating 6 pounds and 14 ounces, I can tell you that eating with a fork would not slow me down.
Oh, my God. What is your greatest fear, or do you have fear?
No, none at all.
Wow. Okay. Where did this come from? What inspired you to do this? Was this something that that started at middle school cafeteria?
I saw a competition online. I was watching the matzo ball eating competition, and I'm like, these guys made $2,500 for eating matzo balls.
Yep. I'm
like, I could be making money eating food. I'm like, that's easy, no brainer for me because I've been eating a lot for years and not getting paid.
I was in a pancake eating contest one time. Not too good, dude. I did not do well after that. That was one of the worst walks home, or a walk home that I've ever had.
I did 50 pancakes.
Oh my God!
in one sitting at IHOP for the $3.99 breakfast. You think they were happy with me?
No. Did you maple syrup on it, or what, is it just regular?
A mix.
Really? You didn't get a sugar? Do you ever get a sugar rush?
I felt like I was so bloated that I was ready to give birth, like I needed the epidural.
Yep. And how do you get over that? You just grab some of those Alka-Seltzer Pluses?
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh my God. So my wife wanted to know, when you eat as much ice cream as you do, how don't you get that freezer headache? Because the rest of us get that freezer headache, and it feels like the whole world is coming to an end.
You turn the spoon upside down.
Oh, really? What's that do?
So the spoon, what happens is when the ice cream hits the top of your mouth, you get brain freeze. When you don't hit the top of your mouth, you don't get brain freeze.
Well, that's good to know. That's, my God. So what have you learned from all of this? Because, somewhere along the line, someone's going to say, Cookie Jarvis, you did a fine job, but what did you learn from it?
I learned that I can excel at anything I can do.
Right.
Like a professional athlete. A guy wants to be top dog, he can be. At the end of the day, there's always going to be somebody that's going to try to knock you off your perch. Even Kobayashi, even Joey. At some point, there'll be somebody to knock them off their perch. Yeah, well, we see that in this documentary where he met his match, and all of a sudden things changed for him. Yeah, but like I said, they didn't make it easy on him because at the end of the day, remember, he had already won X amount of years.
Yep.
And it does get boring watching the same person win over and over again.
So what is it like for you that that on our side of the flat screen, we're making money because we're betting? Does that bother you that you don't get a chunk of that change?
Not at all.
Really?
Not at all. At the end of the day, everybody should be able to make a living. That's the way it is.
So what's next for you? What are your plans?
Yeah, listen, I got 2 grown kids, 19 and 22, and I'm trying to get them to grow up and, live their lives and realize that it doesn't matter what you do in life. But every day you should enjoy life. And if you help other people in your life, like, I've donated almost $200,000 that I've raised for charity over the last 10 years as a professional eater.
Yeah.
And, those things will make an impact in your life and somebody else's every day. If you get up every day and you look at yourself and you say, who can I impact today in a positive way?
Breaking down those walls, man. That's what it's all about.
Yeah, it can't just be about you.
Yeah, you're so true. So let me ask you a question. I realize that the hot dog contests and stuff like that have always been sponsored by Nathan's, but when you travel across the country, do you try other regional hot dogs? Because the hot dogs here in the South are different from those Nathan's.
Well, it's like going to eat Crystal Burgers in the South and going to eat White Castle in the North.
Right?
I'm just saying, they're different, but they're similar. Hot dogs are hot dogs, and Nathan's are always going to be my favorite, but there are other hot dogs.
I always feel guilty when I get to Krispy Kreme and all 12 of those donuts are gone, or I go and get a 20-pack of tacos from Taco Bell and I can't stop.
Oh yeah, well, like everything, it's everything has you got to have one thing that you love.
Yeah, absolutely. Wow. Well, congratulations on this incredible journey that you've been on, and I love the fact that you're teaching people how to do it right. Is there going to be a book or anything like that in the future where you're going to say, okay, let's really do it right? Let's talk about how food is great for you, but you got to eat the right stuff.
Well, look, I've been saying that for years. I mean, at the end of the day, it's all about quantity, quality and quantity. The sad part is you can eat a lot. It doesn't mean you could be unhealthy. You just, you got to eat the correct things.
Have you ever had a gluten-free kind of a contest? Because, gluten-free stuff is all dry. It's like,
there has been no gluten-free contest that I know of. And there's a lot of good gluten-free stuff today. It's not like there used to be.
Right. Dude, you got to come back.
Stuff you'd be like, wow, that's gluten-free. I'm surprised.
You got to come back to this show.
Gluten-free, so I'm familiar with the parameters. My ex is also gluten-free.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Please come back to this show anytime in the future. The door is always going to be open for you.
Love it.
All right, man. Will you be brilliant?
It's July, and everybody should salute their American families that that give us their lives overseas as well.
Yes, sir. Oh, preach it, preach it. I'm with you, buddy. You have a great day, okay, sir?
You too.